another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Once again, I'm doing different character voices with a slight variation. Here's the lineup for this week. The news, of course, Community Bulletin Board, and 55 Plus News. That's the show. Now here's the social media reminder. You can watch us on YouTube at Arlington Weekly News and the number 1, also on Facebook, and you can listen on the radio at WERA 96.7 FM. Now, on to the news.
As of Sunday evening, February 21st, reports show the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington had reached 12,870. Regular viewers and listeners will note the continuing increase in our reported case numbers. Now here's an individual report on the COVID-19 vaccination experience in Arlington.
A few weeks after pre-registering, I received an email invitation to schedule an actual vaccination appointment. 2 days and 2 locations were listed, but by the time I responded, 1 location was completely filled and there were only 2 openings at the remaining location. The practical lesson: check your email often and reply promptly. The day before my scheduled vaccination, the weather forecast made it obvious that it would have to be postponed. I called the hotline number at 703-228-7999 to confirm this and was told to expect an email announcement with a chance to reschedule. As noon approached on the original vaccination date, I had not received an email, so I called the hotline number again even though regular county operations were closed. They were still answering calls remotely, and they were able to take care of my rescheduling and send me a confirming email for the following Sunday. The lesson: when in doubt, the hotline still works during daytime hours. On Sunday, I arrived at the SciFac Center location at 4:37 p.m. and was greeted by an attendant at the parking garage who gave me a sheet of paper with my appointment time and some additional instructions. The lesson: you will not be allowed to enter the building until 5 minutes before your appointment time. Until then, you will need to wait in your car. I only had to wait about 90 seconds. Upon leaving the car, I followed the directions which led me on a circuitous path down from the 3rd level of parking along a cordoned-off, yellow-boarded trail into the SciFac building. At that point, I saw that my 4:45 appointment time did not represent an individual session, but a batch of sessions. I stood in a physically distanced, intermittently moving line until I received the actual vaccination at about 5:35 p.m. I also received a second dose card, which gave me the earliest possible date for the second shot. Everything was carefully monitored by volunteers who remained upbeat and pleasant. The other attendees were also cheerful. After the vaccination, I was directed to an observation room where I sat for 15 minutes to make sure there were no immediate adverse reactions. Experiencing none, I left and returned via another carefully marked pathway to my car. I was out of the center and away by 6:00 p.m. While there was a fair amount of waiting, it was no longer than what I had experienced years earlier waiting to get onto a ride at Disneyland, and there were a few chairs and other accommodations available for those who needed them. The overall lesson: follow the directions carefully and be patient.
Here are some comments about an individual reaction to the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine.
Having been advised to make sure to move my vaccinated arm around to help spread the vaccine within my bloodstream, I made periodic nonviolent movements from time to time. As of 9:10 p.m., I finally noticed some slight stiffness in the shoulder above my vaccinated arm, but nothing else. No fever, No discoloration around the Band-Aid which I left on the injection location. I was still all right at 11:45 p.m. and also at 2:40 a.m. As of noon the following day, there was some stiffness in the injection shoulder, but no fever or rash. I did have some unusual dreams about difficulty breathing, but I had no problems when I was awake. As of 6:00 p.m., the day after the vaccination, the only noticeable effect is some soreness around the injection site. I have been able to eat regular food with no discernible loss of taste or smell and no need for pain relievers.
For reference, this has been the experience of a 65-year-old with an allergy to penicillin. While other subjects may have a different reaction, this is offered as a kind of baseline observation. Also, the Arlington County Board conducted another COVID work session which streamed on February 16th beginning at 3:00 p.m. Participants included Libby Garvey, Christian Dorsey, Matt DiFerranti, Katie Crystal, Takis Karantonis, Dr. Ruben Varghese, Dr. Aaron Miller, and County Manager Jim Schwartz. Free clinic outreach was discussed, although with the limited vaccine supply, it may not be implemented for some time. Relative resident trust for free clinics as opposed to the established vaccination locations may be a factor. Equity was a major concern. Another concern was that no vaccine doses be lost or wasted. Profession-based distinctions are not yet considered feasible. The specific example of a grocery store worker versus a stay-at-home telecommuter was cited as a prioritization problem. The ultimate guidance was unchanged from the previous session. Pre-register as soon as possible. The COVID hotline has been receiving a large number of calls. The recently added recommendations about double masking were raised. Recent inclement weather has been a factor in testing and results, but the trend appears to be down. The last round of questions involved prioritization within the 1B category. The number of members of that group is quite large. There is much that is being planned, but implementation will take time. Christian Dorsey reminded members that the present state system tends to favor certain groups and encouraged the county to try to find ways to overcome this. The work session concluded at 4:50 p.m. On Wednesday, February 17th, Arlington County conducted their first virtual real estate assessment information session. The program began at 12 noon, and it was fairly smooth throughout. Attendees were asked to mute their microphones and turn off their computer cameras in order to facilitate recording of the session for future playback, but questions were possible via a chat function. The moderator was Erica Moore, and the panelists included Travis Shelton, real estate appraiser, Derek Dubé, real estate supervisor, George Carbajal, condo appraiser, Deirdre Kelly, condo and records supervisor, Chris Chicas, commercial appraiser, and Irvin Bailey, commercial appraiser. The online audience was also given a phone number to follow up with questions about their individual cases. That number given was 703-228-3920, and it should be available on an ongoing basis after this broadcast. What followed was a coherent outline of appraisal methods and requirements. A first-level appeal of a real estate assessment can be submitted until March 1st. A second-level appeal of a real estate assessment can be submitted until April 15th. This kind of appeal is handled by a Board of Equalization composed of Arlington County residents. Some recent statistics were also provided. Over the past year, over 62,000 residential parcels were appraised. 90% showed an increase in appraised value. 7% remained unchanged. 3% showed a decrease in appraised value. Among commercial properties, hotels showed a considerable decline, while most other commercial properties increased by around 1%. The decline was attributed to the adverse effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on hotel bookings. This report was followed by an overview of the assessment methodology. For residents, the assessment consists of two components: the house itself and the parcel of land on which the house is situated. The value of the house is based on the cost of materials and labor needed to replace it, but with a depreciation reduction in consideration of the age of the house as it currently exists. For example, a 40-year-old house might require the same replacement costs for material and labor, but its assessed value would be reduced to less than that of a 5-year-old house due to what might be described as ordinary wear and tear. This methodology is based on accessible, verifiable cost estimates and factors in the difference between a new house and an old house. The valuation of the land is derived from recent sales of property in the area with no consideration of costs or age. It is an entirely market-driven value. In Arlington, that is one reason that the land values are sometimes as much as 15 times the value of the building and tend to change more significantly. Two excellent audience questions and their answers deserve special mention here. First, the county budget does not affect real estate assessments. The assessment information is gathered first, and the budget is determined afterward. Second, certain location-based factors, such as excessive airplane noise in a given neighborhood, might be considered in land valuation, but only if they affect sales prices. It was also acknowledged that Virginia state law has a considerable influence over the way appraisals are handled in Arlington. The meeting ended a little after 1:00 p.m. Elsewhere, the Arlington County Police Department released the following message. The Arlington County Police Department's Property Crimes Unit is investigating an increase in overnight commercial burglaries targeting cash-based businesses. Since the start of the year, detectives have investigated 21 reports of commercial burglaries in the county with similar methods of theft. Investigators believe that some of the cases are linked, but not all are committed by the same suspects. Similar cases have been reported in neighboring jurisdictions, and detectives are working collaboratively with our regional law enforcement partners to identify and apprehend those responsible. During overnight hours, suspects force entry to businesses by smashing glass doors and windows. Once inside, the suspects are in search of cash and will remove registers and safes if they are not bolted down. The entire incident takes only minutes, and the suspects flee in an awaiting vehicle. There have been 21 reported incidents, with 15 of those being completed burglaries and 6 attempted burglaries. It has been noted that many of the burglaries have been along Wilson Boulevard or the Columbia Pike corridor and involve already struggling restaurants. The Arlington County Police Department also released the following recommendations to business owners. First, don't store money overnight in your business. If you must keep cash or other valuables overnight, store them in a safe anchored to the floor. Second, leave cash drawers open, indicating that there is nothing to steal. Third, post signs in your store window that cash and valuables are removed from the premises overnight. Fourth, ensure your property has adequate lighting, especially at points of entry. And finally, consider installing security cameras with alarms to capture suspects on video and notify police immediately if unauthorized individuals gain entry into your business. That's the news. Now it's time for Community Bulletin Board, or CBB.
Hi, and welcome to CBB. Here's a program for kids aged 7 to 9 years. It's called Metamorphosis. Join in for a virtual homeschool exploration into the fantastic world of science and nature. In each class, participants will learn about different topics through live, interactive, virtual instruction and amazing activities that can be done at home. This time, as I said, the topic is metamorphosis. Students will be provided kits with materials for them to use to follow along with the activities. You will receive an email link to Microsoft Teams before the program start time. Please have your device ready to go prior to the start of the program. Registration is required. For more information, call Barbara Farley at 703-228-6535. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. That's activity number 622-921-BB. And it's on Friday, March 5th from 11 o'clock to 11:45 a.m. Next up, students from grades kindergarten through 6 are invited to a special program at the Arlington County Public Library. In celebration of Women's History Month, Arlington Public Library and Smithsonian Libraries and Archives are partnering on a month-long exploration of 12 extraordinary American women through handcrafts, music, books, and more. Participation is easy, but registration is required via the library website. First comes Craft Pickup. Each week of March, pick up a themed Women's History Month craft bag at the regularly scheduled Take and Make distribution while supplies last. The bags you pick up on Monday or Tuesday will correspond to the following Thursday meetup. Second comes the Thursday meetup. Join online to craft together, listen to music, and get special Smithsonian-grade information about these fascinating American women. The online event will focus on different themes each week. On March 4th, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m., the subject is Activists and Artists. You will make self-portrait collages in honor of Edmonia Lewis, Anna Mae Wong, and Zikala Sa. On March 11th, the topic is Strength in Science, and you will use chemical reactions to make fizzy paintings in honor of Chen Xiong Wu, Mary Edwards Walker, and Ruby Heroes. On March 18th, the topic is By Air and by Sea, and you will make balloon hovercrafts in honor of Georgia Tiny Broadwick, Jackie Cochran, and Ida Wallace. Finally, on March 25th, the topic is Resistance and Resilience. You will make triangle building blocks in honor of Polly Bemis, Queen Lily Uokalani, and Anna Maria Weems. Our next event is called Cuddly Cottontails, and it's for children aged 3 to 5 years. These preschool programs are offered throughout the year at both Gulf Branch and Long Branch nature centers. The theme for preschool programs is repeated during the month, so please register for only one session at each nature center per month. Registration is required, and caretakers must register and stay with their child during the program. For more information, call Gulf Branch Nature Center at 703-228-3403. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. The activity number is 622-811-AA, and it's coming up on Saturday, March 6th from 10 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. at Gulf Branch Nature Center and Park, 3608 North Military Road. Finally, in CBB, here's an event for families. It's a creek hike. You'll need to register both children and adults because children must be accompanied by a registered adult. It's a chance to join a naturalist and hike and explore one of our many creeks to see the diverse types of things living in them and learn why creeks are so important. For information, call Barbara Farley at 703-228-6535. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 622951-DD. That's on Sunday, March 7th from 11 o'clock to 11:45 a.m. at Long Branch Nature Center at Glen Carlin Park, 625 South Carlin Springs Road. Now it's time for 55 Plus News.
Howdy, and welcome to 55 Plus News. I'm filling in for old Ben this week, even though I'm really too young, but you know, that's showbiz. Here's a chance to get together for great books and conversation. In March, the Lee Book Club will discuss The Splendid and the Vile by Eric Larson. Mr. Larson shows in cinematic detail how Churchill taught the British people the art of being fearless. It's a story of political brinksmanship, but it's also an intimate domestic drama set against the backdrop of Churchill's prime ministerial country home. You can register online or call 703-228-4747, and that's activity number 913402-20. It's coming up on Tuesday, March the 2nd from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Unlike me, you gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. This next program is called Travel Trivia, and it enables you to travel the far reaches of the globe with a stimulating trivia challenge. It's also a chance to connect with 55 plus friends and meet new people along the way. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 913-601-04, and it's coming up on Thursday, March 4th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Again, you gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Next up, the Arlington Library's 55 Plus Book Club is still going strong. Until further notice, the group will meet via Zoom. For the Zoom meeting info, register for the group's email list through the library website. Registrants will be sent the Zoom meeting info by email one day before the meeting. They welcome new members to join them in reading and discussing current literary fiction, historical fiction, and some nonfiction. This time the book will be The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. It's been described as a plea and a warning to citizens to examine the actual state of America after a century of emancipation. That's coming up on Friday, March 5th from 12 noon to 1 o'clock p.m. And since this is a library event, there's no age or membership restrictions, although it is recommended for people aged 55 and up. Finally, there's a program called Armchair Travel, and it features videos that examine our country's amazing parks. It's also a chance to discuss the features that make them national treasures. For instance, in March, you can explore a volcano in the Hawaiian Park that is constantly growing and changing. In April, there will be a virtual trip to some huge caves beneath the New Mexico desert, and June will feature the rugged mountains, glaciers, and grizzly bears of Alaska. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. The activity number is 913-402-20, and it's on Friday, March 5th from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. Once again, you gotta be 55 and up, and 55 plus membership is required. Anyway, that's all we got for 55 Plus News.
And that concludes this week's show. We will be back next week with more news from Arlington. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well. Ah, there's something dangerous in the air, and the way some people just don't seem to care. Oh, see the ones who don't put on masks, while they spread the germs they're breathing everywhere. I'm picking up new mutations, I'm seeing all the indications. I'm picking up new mutations, I'm seeing all the indications. I'm picking up new mutations, I'm seeing all the indications. I'm picking up new mutations, I'm seeing all the indications. Look, they're coming closer now. Step away, they just keep moving in. When as I stay away, they just say I'm being paranoid. I'm picking up new mutations, start ramping up the vaccinations. I'm picking up new mutations, start ramping up the vaccinations. I'm picking up new mutations, start ramping up the vaccinations. I'm picking up new mutations, start ramping up the vaccinations. I don't know how we can manage now. It's an invasion of the nation. Gotta keep those new mutations from happening here. Gotta keep those new mutations from happening here. Gotta keep those new mutations from happening here.